And welcome to a long overdue episode of All Rell Good with my good friend Richard Rellford, number 40, the former standout Wolverine in the mid 80s, major hops, bounce, whatever you want to call it. Great player, several years overseas, a pro ball, great dude. First of all, how are you doing, my man? I've missed you. Everything good with you and your family?
Everything is great, Tom. You know what? I got my kids at home for the summertime, and I'm gonna tell you, man, I love it, and life is good.
Life is good because you're for Father's Day. You got a new iPad, so you
That's
look,
exactly
you
right.
know, even more handsome than you are already
Thanks,
showcased
my
before off
man.
that phone.
Thank you, my man.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I do.
So anyway, God, where do we start here? I want to, want to do a pot. Obviously, when we get into basketball season, we're doing it every week, but
Right, right.
we got to get caught up, with some changes in intercollegiate athletics, which you were heavily
Yes,
involved with for
yes.
4 years as a high level athlete. And I'm just going to throw some curveballs at you just to get your
Okay.
reaction as a former player.
Hmm.
That perspective as a Big Ten former player, standout. USC and UCLA going from the Pac-12 to the Big Ten. What's your thoughts on that? Are you a purist? Are you agitated? Or you say, hey, let's show us all the money. This is college basketball, and let's just embrace it. Where are you at?
Well, to be honest, I really like it because it makes our league, not only are we the best league in the country, it makes the Big Ten that much better. We
Okay.
know why all of these schools are coming to us and why they're flocking to us because we got a $1 billion television deal. And if I'm a big time university, I want some of that money. If y'all going, if my university is good enough, like a USC and a UCLA,
Yeah.
and we know they're going to attract not only great players but great people. And now those guys, and you see out there in the Pac-12 used to be in the Pac-10, they're getting now to recruit players from the Big Ten. They can go now to states that they've never been to,
Yeah.
and I think that's going to help the program. I think it's going to help the Big Ten.
Okay. You're a let's go back, 40 some year or 40 year, a solid 40 years. I mean, 40 years ago, you were like an incoming freshman, if I'm not mistaken. Where
Yes,
didn't you come in the fall of 82?
fall of '82. That's
Okay,
exactly when I
that's
got in.
40 years ago, old man.
40.
That's
Wow,
what does
man,
that
that's a
tell you?
long time.
Okay.
That's a long
So
time,
so
Tom.
go through the process. Yeah, Michigan's on the road this weekend. They're in Los Angeles
Hmm.
to play USC. Now, academically, it was obviously would have been harder when you were there because you didn't have the internet, you didn't have virtual learning where you could, or you didn't have tutors. Did you have tutors flying with
Yes,
you? Or
yes, we had tutors.
okay. But how difficult is that going to be? And I'm not just talking football and basketball. I'm talking about the quote unquote Olympic sports, gymnastics team,
Yeah.
just going to a variety of these places. I mean, with the footprint of the Big Ten expanding, what's that? How do you navigate that?
Well, I think probably the most difficult part will be school time. You're hoping that you don't have to travel to California during finals week
Yeah,
or
yeah, that's
mid
no
finals.
good.
You know what I mean? That's
Yeah,
when you don't want to do those trips. Now, if you play in Michigan State or somebody like that, then you're okay with it. And you're
yeah,
doing finals. But
yeah.
I think that's going to probably be Tom the hardest time for players and athletes. And you know what I didn't put into to effect was I forgot about all the other sports, man, because I'm thinking
Yeah,
about football and basketball,
I
but we
know.
got baseball and
Yeah,
gymnastics and all these things.
I
It's going to be
know.
difficult for some of the organizations.
Yeah, and but that Big Ten deal, we're hearing that every school, you threw out that B word out there, billion. I mean, I think it comes down yeah, it's spread out over whatever however many teams they're going to have. They're going to get 100 million a pop.
Oof.
Every school, and the Big Ten wants to do it from an equitable. Everybody gets an even share. Unlike Notre Dame wants a bigger share if they join a league, being
Right,
Notre Dame. Okay,
right.
so to hell with Notre Dame, as Bo Schembechler would say. I just, I guess I'm with you on. I mean, yeah, it's just I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. The
Yes.
NIL with all, and I'm going to ask you about that in a second here. And the transfer portal. I mean, don't you think college athletics has just done an incredible transformation of change in the last 18 to 24 months? Think about it. What's going on? What's
Well,
that? Where are you at with all that stuff?
first of all, the NIL deals.
Yeah.
The NIL deals makes it an even playing field now, because now you don't have to worry about college guys. Say you're a sophomore and you can go to the NBA or the NFL, and you're leaving because your family is financially strapped, and so
Right.
you want to help. Well, now you don't have to do that. I,
Yeah.
I'm in Toledo, and one of the kids here, Zaya Cook, she has the second most NIL deals of any athlete in the country.
You're kidding me.
And yes, I was talking to her brother. But Tom, she has a lawyer.
Yeah.
And when we were in school, Tom, I couldn't have a lawyer.
Yeah.
I can to go negotiate.
Yeah.
Uh, I talked to Jawan and those guys at Michigan because I want to get a couple players as well, because we want to be able to pay them money to come speak to my kids and things like that. You know what Jawan told me? Rich, I can't say anything about it. You have to get to the players directly.
Oh,
That's how
really?
you do it. Oh yeah, there is no. Everybody thinks that these schools are setting up these NIL deals. Well, the schools can't. You have to go directly to the player. When I talk to Lisa Nichols, Jawan's
Yeah.
secretary as well,
Yeah.
I have to go to those guys, and then they give you the NCAA gives you this long thing of rules and what you have to do in order to sign that kid.
Oh my word.
Now,
I had no
everybody
idea.
thinks that it's awesome because that player gets paid. The NCAA still controls it because they have to agree on your NIL deal. That's
Well,
how
how
you
come?
get them.
Yeah, but the problem here's what Michigan is being criticized for not being aggressive enough on these NIL deals, especially football. And
Yes.
and Hunter Dickinson came out and talked about, has been very outspoken about how he's not doing it just from not his own perspective. He's got a heck of an NIL deal, but he's just saying as a whole, Michigan is incredibly conservative with compensating their athletes. Jim Harbaugh's your friend Jim Harbaugh, who you knew and hung out with in college days. He feels this way, and I understand where he's coming from. He said you have to come here and you have to earn you with NIL by performing first. Okay. In
Mm-hmm.
contrast, uh, when you're talking about the SEC or the Pac-12, University of Oregon in particular,
Mm-hmm.
Devontae, they're going to grab a recruit right out of Michigan's backyard because they're giving him this incredible deal through Nike. He's never played it down. Okay, Texas A&M, what pissed off Nick Saban, because he said, "Oh, they're paying players before they've even been on the playing field." Well, I mean, Alabama does their share of paying players. I mean, it's legalized cheating right now. Okay,
Right.
so
Perfect.
what
Perfect.
Michigan is here's what I understand the frustration us fans, I'm talking about me, not you as a former player, but us fans are thinking, um, my God, take advantage of this NIL because everybody else is. I mean, it's not dirty to do NIL, and it's almost like Michigan is just like, hands off for a while here, and they're going to get their ass kicked. Rich?
And that's when they're gonna learn. Because this is my whole thing. Because I remember when Saban said something about Texas A&M.
Yeah, it was a
Listen,
few weeks
listen.
ago.
Texas A&M, their alumni are taking care of their kids. That's how these guys are getting these alumni from Texas A&M with these big companies.
Yeah,
That's how
oil
they're doing it.
companies. Yeah,
Right. Well, that's how
yeah,
they're doing it. This is my deal. Michigan has one of the biggest alumni bases in the country
and wealthiest.
and
Yes,
wealthiest. Why not go help our kids?
I hear
Why
you.
not help our kids? Because
I
you know
know.
what? Don't wait until everybody's jumped on board and
Yeah,
these kids are going to other schools because of these NIL deals.
yeah,
Listen, we all know Michigan's a great institution. We get that.
yeah.
But you know what? We're in a different era now. And these kids want to be compensated just like the colleges and the universities have been compensated.
Yeah.
I told a lady, I was in a barbershop about a week ago, and she said to me, Rich, wasn't you guys happy with a $400,000 a year scholarship to go to Michigan? And I said to her, yeah, we were. But why should we settle with that when you gave me a $400,000 scholarship, but I made you $20 million in
Yeah.
the 4 years that I was there?
Yeah. Yeah.
Kids should be compensated some kind of way. We're not saying make these kids millionaires, but look at the avenues now, Tom. I was talking to my son and the kid Nunez. How much did Nunez play
Well,
last
not
year?
much at all, but you know why? He was really big on Twitter and
And TikTok.
TikTok. Yeah,
And that's why he's
TikTok.
driving around in a Porsche.
Is that right?
Yes, I saw him on. He has a Porsche. Him and his girlfriend. They driving around in Porsches in Ann Arbor, and I'm tripping out. And I'm saying, man, if this was me or Roy or Antoine, we get
Oh,
NCAA violation.
so
It's a violation.
do you resent being born 40 years too early?
Well, you know what? This is what we resent. Me and Todd Mitchell was talking about this. Me and Todd Mitchell, who went
Former
to
Purdue
Purdue.
Boilermaker, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Todd said, Rich, we was born too soon.
Yeah.
We were born too
Yeah.
soon because he said to me, he said, Rich, you was a two-sport All-American. Imagine how much money you would have made coming out of high school in an NIL deal. I said, you know what, Todd? I thought about that.
Yeah.
And we can't cry over spilled milk because we're not there now.
Right.
But I'm going to push for every athlete that's there in these schools now, though, that they get compensated some kind of way. Because I never thought about the NIL deals until a friend of mine came up to me and says, did your coach have a good car in college? I said, what do you mean? He said, did he have a car? I said, sure. He said, was it a nice car? I said, sure. He said, you know how much money he paid for it? I said, I don't know. He said he paid nothing. Wow. He paid nothing for that car because people got him to drive it to sponsor it. He said, Rich, next time you see a coach, look at the back of his license plate. And if it says dealer, you know he didn't pay for it. I said, okay.
But so that, the NIL is a big deal, but and that's an adjustment. And the league alignment, realignment that's going on. And my God, I just read as we're doing this podcast here on Thursday afternoon that in the Atlantic Coast Conference, you have North Carolina, Clemson, Florida State, and Virginia have applied for admittance in the SEC. Okay.
Oh, really? Okay.
So the Atlantic Coast Conference, which has a TV deal that goes to 2036, that's going to have to be eaten, ripped up, or whatever. If those those are big household brand names.
Yes, they are.
Especially basketball with Carolina and Virginia. I mean, then you got the SEC also good in basketball.
Yes.
And that's moneymaker. It's crazy. I mean, that's hard to put my head around. But I want to flip over to the transfer portal, and Frankie Collins, you and I raved about this kid. I mean, you saw the potential in him. I saw it as well. And then it's almost like Frankie, he transfers to Arizona State. It's almost like he wanted a written document of assurance that he was going to start on this. I mean, it's like you get to that point that don't kids feel the need to work for something? And my God, he has as good a chance of starting on this team as anybody. The way he ended the NCAA tournament against Colorado State and Tennessee, those two games, he was absolutely fabulous. I mean, you had to be disappointed with Frankie Collins leaving the basketball.
I was very disappointed because I thought Frankie was our energy, but I don't agree with him wanting to demand to be starting.
Yeah.
But he did that now because he knew that these highly recruited guys were coming in.
Yeah.
And he wasn't highly recruited. Yeah. And he wanted security. And so I get that part of it. He wanted security. And he's out there at Arizona State with Bobby Hurley, isn't he?
Yeah, that's who's at Arizona State, I think. Yeah,
Bobby Hurley.
And, I mean, but it's not a big time program by any
like
means.
Michigan.
I mean, not like Michigan. I mean, Michigan's had 5 Sweet 16s in a row. I think the Jalen Llewellyn from Princeton addition that Juwan did, a la Mike Smith, an Ivy Leaguer a couple years prior. I guess that's irked him and he left. I mean,
I think so.
I don't know. I just thought that guy had raw talent.
Yes.
But Michigan's roster is set. It's 9. Get this, Rich. I mean, no wonder Michigan is not expected to, be a top 10 team.
Mm-hmm.
But 9 of the 14 players next year have never played a minute for Michigan basketball. I mean, how? I mean, that's.
Wow.
I mean, yes, you got Hunter Dickinson back and Kobe Buffkin and some other good players back, but I mean, wow, isn't that's going to be a hard transition, don't you think?
I think it's going to be harder than people think because the transition for the guys, for the freshmen coming in, they got to get used to the Big Ten, just like we saw with Musa and just like we saw with Houston.
Right.
It's not an easy thing to do. You got to hope that this summer you got to find some kind of way, man, to have these guys acclimate to Big Ten style of play.
Yeah.
Because I know we had Mike Smith, but we saw Mike Smith's struggles, his struggles in the Big Ten in the beginning. Well, all of those guys going to have it. I don't care what conference you come from and where you come from. It's going to be tough getting into the Big Ten in the beginning.
Yeah, I really think it is. But you know what? I had a conversation with John Borton of the Wolverine about the consistency of this program and 5 Sweet 16s, and can it get to six Sweet 16s? And I say it can, and it's because of Juwan Howard. I think with Caleb Houston and Musa Diabate leaving early, and how many times did we have that conversation, you and I, about should they stay?
Right, we had and then we, I didn't believe in the one. I didn't think they were one and done.
Yeah,
and right now they look good.
I mean, and they go high, in the second round. And so looking back at what they did, I mean, if that was the message that was delivered to them, Rich, and it was followed through, I guess it was a good decision for them to leave. Right.
But it also, yes, it was not only. I think it was a good decision if they went in with the kind of attitude they have now that they're playing. But I think though, Tom, and I tell people this all the time, my college coach, which I'm referring to Juwan Howard as their coach, was a 19-year NBA vet, who coached and played. Do you not think he got connection in all these places? That I can call a coach and say, look, I have a kid, and I want you to check him out. Well, look at Houston. He's on a team that he got how many Michigan players on that Orlando Magic's team?
Well, yeah, you got Franz
and his brother.
Yeah, and then yeah.
So you got 3 Michigan guys on one team in the NBA.
Wow,
that's pretty dang on good.
Wow,
and it's connections, Tom. It's all about relationships.
Right,
the relationship that your coach. No matter. I thought that Houston was questionable to this year would have been a better year. Right. But he went to the combine and he must have just went crazy there, him and Musa, because they end up being early second round picks. And so, listen, man, anything is possible once you get on that floor.
Yeah. So with Musa, were you surprised that, I mean, you saw the potential. He could rebound. He couldn't, sometimes he couldn't grasp onto the ball very well. I get in congestion, but did you see the raw talent there?
Yes. To be honest with you, I think Musa's going to be a better pro than Houston is.
Yeah.
I thought Musa was better last year in college than Houston. The one thing that Houston can do, though, he can really shoot the ball. Yeah. And that's their thing. But I've always believed in size. You got Musa who's 6'9", Tom, and it's going to be, he's tough on the inside. The ball handling thing will come. He'll be able to hold on to it a little better. If not, he won't be playing. That's how the NBA do.
Yeah. Now Michigan also, Rich. We need to mention that filling in some void, some of these 9 first-time players at the Michigan program. Joey Baker, the transfer from Duke, that's a shooter. And my God, we were foaming at the mouth. Please give us a shooter on that team last year.
Yes, we were. We sure were.
And then Yasif Kayat is this 19-year-old Lebanese student, a power forward, wing power forward. He a little more versatile, 17 points, 7 boards, 2 assists in one of Europe's top youth leagues. So he's played on the Lebanon national team. And you know what it's like playing overseas. Yes. Do you think there's going to be a style of play like a little bit, about what Mo Wagner had transitional wise, going from overseas to the Big Ten where he's knocking heads? Do you think that's going to be a tough transition?
No. The reason is because European players and Middle Eastern players are physical. And so we know the Big Ten is a physical conference.
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking that they'll adjust as far as that goes. Now, as far as their skill set, I don't know these kids yet. I know the
Yeah.
kid from Duke. I know
Yeah.
he's a shooter. And like you said, we were foaming at the mouth for a shooter last year. I think he'll be a good player there
Yeah.
because Duke's the ACC. That conference is tough. It's not a weak conference.
Yeah.
And so I look forward to this season, man. I think I'm trying to get to more games this year.
Well, yeah, I hope you're up there. And see another thing. Our mutual friend Wayman Britt, the former Wolverine,
Yes.
was always raving about his Grand Rapids guy Kobe Buffkin.
Yes.
And and I understand that. And it goes beyond just local allegiance. I mean, he really believes in this kid.
Mm-hmm.
What does he got to do though, Kobe Buffkin, to step this game up so he can potentially be a starter?
Get stronger.
Yeah.
He has to get stronger because
very lean. Yes.
Right. Well, not only that, we know he can shoot and he can handle the ball.
Yeah.
But I need him to be able to go to the hole and not get knocked around and lose the ball. That's where the strength comes in. I think this year, I think he should do well, man. Just going that right now. If I'm him, I'm in the weight room every day, and to make sure I'm getting stronger and better.
Yeah. Did you do the weight room, or you didn't have to do the weight room because you were kind of just natural?
I gotta be honest, Tom. I ain't do the weight room.
You did?
I never did the weight room ever. Coach Frieda used to get so upset that I never went in the weight room because I was naturally strong and I had football muscles, and so I started doing the weight room the end of my junior year.
Not till then.
Yeah, that's when I started doing the weight room.
Did you keep your weight around
230?
230 the entire 4 years?
No, entire 4 years. Matter of fact, I dropped a little bit too, to like 225 a lot. I was going back and forth. Yeah, but 230 for me, I was comfortable. I felt stronger at 230.
Interesting. Yeah, that was a lot of. Well, you were a load. There's no question about it. Okay, so for our viewers, all Rell Good, and we're into our third or fourth year. We're in our fourth year. At least part of that first year. Yeah, I think at least we're in our third year. I gotta check all the records here on our YouTube channel. And for our listeners out there, we're gonna share this and do so. We have got some exciting things that you and I have talked about what we're going to do.
We're going to have a great season this year.
In Michigan basketball, the fact that it's such a brand name and your relationship with Juwan and it's fun stuff ahead, and a lot of these former athletes. But tell your fans of Richard Rellford, number 40 out of Riviera Beach. What do you people have asked, what does Rich do for a living? And I think we've mentioned it, down in Toledo. Explain what you're doing and give me an update right now, how your summer's been going with youth, teaching basketball and different programs you got going.
Well, I'm what they call a master coach at the YMCA. I'm in charge of a lot of coaches, but I also teach. One of the fun things about it is right now we're doing coach pitch baseball and T-ball. And my students are from ages 3 to 5. And then I go.
Are you kidding me? You're working with 3 to 5 year olds?
And I got 6 to 8. Those are my kids. Those are my kids that I work with. And when I tell you, it is so much fun. And the parents come to me and ask me all these things about why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I do more for these. The kids do more for me than I do for them.
Well, that's a wonderful.
The YMCA has been amazing for me.
Well, okay, so, but don't you have your moments like you'd like to coach, 12 to 14-year-olds or some of these kids at the higher developmental age, or what is it about the young kids?
And the funny thing is, and I was just talking about this with Tom Mitchell as well. If I can get these kids in elementary school and middle school, then I can help them change. By the time they get to high school, the older kids, it's tough because they already think they know the game. They know everything about it by the time they get to high school. We talked about getting them before that. Dennis Hobson, we talked about getting the kids by the time they get to middle school. Because now you can mold them the right way. Because you got a lot of volunteers, and I deal with this every day. You got a lot of coaches who never played, but watched TV and read a couple books, and so they feel like they're great coaches. And I explained to them, I want kids to play. My job as a YMCA instructor, is for a kid to learn how to love the game and learn the game. because now once I get you to love it and you learn it, you'll remember that throughout your whole life. Because I did. I started when I was young, and everything my brother taught me, man, I remember.
Okay, so let me before I let you go,
Mhm,
let's look at that 6 to 8 year old,
mhm,
6 to 8 year olds. Okay,
mhm,
because I'm seeing how this is working
mhm,
just because of knowing how you are and how you impact people.
mhm.
You could probably that's like the sweet spot as far as setting kids on the right path. Because I'm telling you what, I know a high school coach over here at Everett High School over here on the Lansing South Side, which is rough. Okay.
Mhm.
And he says, Tom, I got to tell you something. 10-year-old kids are getting guns right now. And
Yes,
we're not, my
yes,
varsity kids, I'm not worried about it. I mean, the 10-year-old kids is what we're worried about in the South Side Lansing. I mean, and
yes,
so if you can impact them, I think you're right on to something, Rich. 6 to 8 years old,
yes.
especially if they have some compromising situations at home where they're not getting the proper direction.
Listen,
There's the answer right there.
that's the answer. One of my other programs that I want to do, Tom, and I'm gonna tell. Matter of fact, I'm gonna talk about it here for the first time. Is I want to start a mentoring program for
Okay.
middle school kids because all all ages, well, middle school, but all colors, black, white, green, gold. I don't care what color they are, because we have to be able to help these kids now. I watched a 16-year-old kid here in Toledo get gunned down. He was 16 years old.
Oh,
He was sitting in his car, and guys came by and riddled his car with bullets. And they don't even know this kid wasn't in a gang. He was just a regular student. But we feel that you know how these gangs have these initiations.
yeah,
Well, we think this was an initiation for this kid. You had to go kill this kid
yeah,
in order to get into a gang. Well, those are the wrong messages that we're sending to our children. We have to show them the right way to do things, to let them know that if you go to school and you get an education, education is power.
yeah,
You can do whatever you want to do in your life if you got a good education. And I'm
yeah,
not saying go to a big college like Michigan, go to
yeah,
any college. Just go
yeah,
get higher learning. But you got to finish high school and high school first.
yeah.
And that's my mission.
Well, you're very motivating to talk to, Rich.
Thanks, Tom.
And we're going to have some fun with all Rell and Good and keep doing what you're doing, my friend. This is
Thanks, my
awesome.
man.
I mean, that's of all the stuff you've done and following you at Michigan as a fellow alumnus and everything, and the pride that I have on our podcast. And we're getting a lot of positive feedback. What you're doing at the Y is probably at the top of the heap right now
It
of
is.
what you accomplished.
It's
Yeah.
one of the most really good giving things that I've done in my life.
Yeah. No, I can
Is to
tell.
watch my kids, man, when they come up to me, Tom, and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, coach," and then give me a fist pump,
Yeah.
and then the grandparents come to me and give me fist
Right.
pumps. That's why I get all. That's why I get the greatest feeling, man.
There you go. He's Richard Rellford, all Rell and Good, along with Tom Crawford, our basketball podcast for Michigan basketball, but all levels of life, as we
There
talked
you
about
go.
right now. And so we'll reconnect in August. And then when we get into September and October, when that basketball camp opens, we're going every week, Rich. You
There you
know
go,
that.
baby. You know
And,
that. I'm ready for
and,
that.
have until next time, please be safe and keep doing the magic, my friend.
You do the same, my man.
All right. Talk to you soon.
Peace.